You're listening to Trek FM.
Welcome to From There to Here, Trek FM's 315th anniversary of First Contact Day, where the hosts of the network get together and listen to Ooby Dooby and talk about episodes of Star Trek while we're doing it. And joining me, Brandon-Mutala, joining me today is Mike Schindler.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. How you liking my First Contact Day party?
Oh, it's festive.
It's got cheese pierogies. Oh, I love cheese pierogies. They're not very healthy, but they're tasty.
Yeah. My uncle makes those for Christmas every year because he's Polish. So it's like a family tradition, and they're pretty amazing.
Right on. We are going to be talking about two episodes of Star Trek Voyager right near the end of their run. We're talking Homestead and Renaissance Man. And in Homestead, the writers of the series look for a reason to leave Neelix behind.
I mean, I think that it's perfectly reasonable. I mean, it's kind of weird that he was going to go back with them to begin with, although, the idea of, him being from a race which is basically extinct, so he doesn't have a home to return to, that seems like a good excuse for him to go all the way home. But, having him, finish out his arc here, I think is cool. Is cool.
It's an odd one for me. Like, I like it, and I like that he ends up with more Talaxians and stuff, but I honestly expected Neelix to get all the way home with them, right? All the way back to the Alpha Quadrant. Because that just seemed like the natural resolution of his story arc to me. And when he goes to sit down, how many times in Star Trek have people been like, I'm going to leave the ship, and, they're like, no, you can't leave the ship. No, that's terrible and stuff. And we understand we don't want them to actually leave the ship because it's season 2 and they got to be around for another 5 seasons. But I mean, like, with this being only 2 episodes left after this one, and Janeway's like, no, yeah, I got a tough mission for you. Do you want to stay behind and be the ambassador? It feels odd, because that's, if you were to pick this episode up and move it 4 seasons back, she would never say that.
Well, it's convenient, but perhaps, it's one of those things where, this is what they should have been doing all along, and back in the day, back in season 4, her saying no would have been more of a convenient thing than a realistic thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't mind it. Again, like, when he leaves the ship, and honest to goodness, when Tuvok does that little dance move, the first time I watched this, I wept like a baby. Like, I thought it was perfect, because I really love the banter that Neelix and Tuvok have throughout the whole 7 years, and I love Neelix. Like, he's my second favorite character on Voyager. I love the Doctor, and then Neelix, and then Tuvok, like, those are the characters that I really like to watch in this show. And so it is a satisfactory ending for the character, for sure. And I'm glad that Neelix, he wins in the end, and I like his story and how it keeps going on in the novels, but it's a satisfactory conclusion for the character, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they do a good job of kind of like showing how his role on the ship has changed over the years, and how he maybe is needed somewhere else more than he is needed on Enterprise. Like they have that whole scene with
Voyager.
Naomi. Voyager, Enterprise, whatever. He's needed more here than he is on Enterprise too. So you know what? But yeah, I mean, like they have that whole scene with Naomi, which I liked, because it wasn't like Naomi being a brat, like, I don't need you, go away, old man. It
Right.
wasn't that. She's like, hey, Neelix, how's it going? And he's like, it's going okay. And then he's like, hey, you want me to tuck you in? And she's like, no, I'm good, thanks though. Like, kind of like that. It wasn't like she was like, you're dead to me, Neelix. I mean, it was just saying like, hey, you know what? I'm older, whatever, and you can do your own thing now. It's okay for you to do your own thing. It's okay for you to be with your people. And I thought that was cool. I did think it was a little weird. I mean, I don't know. Whenever I see something like this, I think about it in terms of like the actors, and I wonder what Ethan Phillips's reaction was when they were like, "We don't need you for the last 3 hours. I mean, like, you can do a thing in front of a blue screen in, like, 5 minutes or whatever, but, just do that on your way out today, and then you're good." But at the same time, like, I think that he was probably way into it because he's one of the few characters in Star Trek, really, who gets to complete his arc, you
Right.
know? So
Right.
I'm sure he's like, yeah, screw it. I'll sacrifice those 3 episodes, to finish out, this character. And I think it works pretty well.
I'm going to ask him that next time I go to a convention. But I think you're right. The thing with Naomi and whatnot, when she's like, "I'm 6 years old, my mom doesn't take care of me, and I don't need you to take care of me anymore either," right? So, because
Yeah.
like, where is her mom? Right? She's gone.
Is she? I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows? No, she's gone. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
And-
did you love how the Millennium Falcon came in at the end and saved the day, and then Janeway was like, "Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million."
I mean, that was okay, I guess.
It made me think of the Millennium Falcon coming in and saving the day right at the end, because it just was, she just comes in and saves the day. So,
Yeah. I don't know. It was fine. It was fine. I mean, it's not like an episode where I'm like, oh yeah, can't wait to get to Homestead on my rewatch. But I think that it served the character well.
yeah, I like it. Right on. Anything else?
Nope.
You want to give us a summary of Renaissance Man?
Sure. Renaissance Man is the one where the Doctor and Janeway return from an away mission to tell the crew that they violated some laws in terms of like using warp in this alien race's space, and they need to eject their core and settle on a planet. And this seems very strange because Janeway has been acting up, quite a bit, and Chakotay and the rest of the crew start thinking that maybe something's up, and then they start thinking that maybe it's the Doctor who is doing this stuff, and maybe he's not being as truthful as he should be with the crew.
Yeah, I love this episode. I think it's fascinating how many people the Doctor can take out with nobody catching on. Like he takes out 3 major players on this ship before anybody starts catching on. Janeway, Chakotay, and Kim. Like that's pretty crazy. But I like this episode a lot. I think it's fun. I think it's a good mystery. Again, it's been a while since I've seen it, so watching this episode, I'm like, what is going on? This is crazy. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, no, I think this episode works really well. It has a very good sort of like whodunit feel to it. It feels kind of like an Alfred Hitchcock, plot in a sense, like North by Northwest or something. The man wrongfully accused or whatever, and the audience. I mean, it's always fun to watch that as an audience because you're trying to figure out why these characters are acting in a certain way, especially when it's someone like the Doctor who and it's like, well, what's he doing? Why is he doing this? And you're really trying to like piece these things together as the crew is trying to piece them together, and all that stuff is great. And also, I mean, just the stuff with the Doctor in terms of like, I mean, there's like 2 shots in particular where it's just like, oh yeah, there's the one where he jumps through the window in sickbay.
Yes.
Where it's like, yeah, and then there's the other thing where I think when he's B'Elanna, he like does the Matrix like walk up the wall thing or whatever, and then like take out like 4 people. I mean, it's clear that somebody watched the Matrix, and that's all well and good, but it still was a lot of fun. It was really interesting to kind of try to do piece this together plot wise. It was nice that the Doctor got one last moment to shine, and in the final scene where the Doctor makes his confession, I mean, clearly, I mean, especially like if you look at like when this episode aired versus like it was clearly, someone who had just watched Almost Famous, which had just come out a few months prior, because there's that whole scene in Almost Famous on, the plane where, they think they're going to crash, they think they're going to die, and everyone confesses their deepest, darkest secret. And then, the plane rights itself and they all land and everyone's okay. And, like Cameron Crowe describes, because that actually happened to him, he's like, yeah, we landed and it kind of felt like a consolation prize. Everyone was like, well, kind of wish we were dead now, but, hey. So yeah, I mean, I thought that played pretty well. And, yeah, on the whole, it's a pretty kick-ass episode.
I'll forgive you. You're one of those newbie fan, film people, and it's actually called Untitled.
You know what? I could not agree with you more. And I would normally always say that. This is like the one exception that I make because no one ever knows what I'm talking about. Because it's not even like, Sydney and Hard 8, where it's like, oh, Sydney, that's the alternate title for Hard 8. It's like Untitled, and people are like, what? And now there is like another movie called Untitled or something. But yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you that the correct title for Almost Famous is Untitled.
I wrote down a lot of the same things that you wrote here, like the doctor jumping through the window is awesome. I think it's pretty funny that the ECH backfires on them, like when he activates the ECH and, it like locks them out, right? So I think that's kind of interesting. But yeah, the doctor's confession at the end is pretty epic. And I love this episode. I think this is a really good one. I love the doctor. He is so good at just acting so over the top. And at the beginning of the show, I don't think I would have ever said that the Doctor was going to become my favorite character on the show.
Yeah.
But he's good.
Yeah, they did a good job with him, for sure. Yeah.
Excellent. Right on. Anything else you want to add to either of these episodes?
No, I think that pretty much does it.
Excellent. Well, where can people find you when you're not misquoting titles of movies?
You can find me right here on Trek FM doing Stage 9, where we talk about the people who make Star Trek. And you can also find me on the Nerd Party Network doing Great Shot Kid, where we talk about the people who make Star Wars. And you can find me on Twitter at Mumbles3K. And also, since it just came out a few days ago, head on over to commentarytrackstars.com, where me and my co-host Max from Commentary Trek Stars have a new commentary for Mad Max Fury Road, the Black and Chrome edition. So check that out. And yeah, where can people find you, Brandon?
You can find me here on the network with new episodes of Melodic Treks, which is all about the music of Star Trek. And you can find me on Twitter at Brandon-Mutala. You can find me every once in a while on the Babel Conference. And you can find me on several recent episodes of Warp 5. And I just got to say, stay tuned to January 6th, the Friday there, because there's going to be an awesome Warp 5 coming out that you don't want to miss.
I'm not going to miss it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So join us again tomorrow as we talk about Endgame and Star Trek Nemesis.